All organisations, whether they're producing products or whether they're conducting services, need project management. We see today continuous change, innovation and new processes being introduced by using projects. Therefore, important to projects is the managing of people. This course, Managing People, Managing Projects, a new course here at UQ Business School, Corporate Education Downtown. We've asked the question, what makes a project succeed and what makes it fail against those basic criteria of time, quality and cost? The results of that type of intensive information gathering has been the writing of a book and also the development of this course. Why is it that some projects succeed and some fail?
It's the simple things in projects that sometimes are the most clever. So how many people have seen project reports that are literally hundreds of pages? Who reads them?
A key component of what we study in our Managing People, Managing Projects workshop is project performance. Many good projects are deemed failures simply because they haven't been reported correctly. We look at project performance from a number of perspectives. We look at it from the traditional cost, time and quality, and we also look at it from how can we produce measures that improve behavioural outcomes and behavioural performance during the project. A key feature of what we look at is developing a project on a page reporting mechanism. Many complex projects are difficult to report upon and there's usually a myriad of information used to try and report status in terms of cost, time and quality. With Project on a Page, we educate and work with our participants on how to bring together multiple feeds of information, summarise it in such a way that it's a graphical display of information and it's easy to use, even for novices, to recognise the status of a project or how well it's performing.
You can make that value visible to a lot of people in your business, then everybody sees what the value that the customer is expecting, and whatever they do, they can think, is that adding any value to what the customer wants? Or am I just doing it because I've been told to do it? Now, getting people to think like that takes a long time in a business. But if you can develop that capability, I've seen businesses just turn around almost overnight.
One of my favourite quotes with regard to simplification in business comes from a book called Simplicity Wins, which was written by a group of McKinsey consultants after the analysis of about 35 or 40 companies across Europe. The quote is, "Achieving simplicity is far more valuable than delivering the capability to manage complexity." And by that, they mean that yes, you may have a business where you've got the sophisticated systems and you've got the processes and the technology to manage the complexity, but in fact the results of the research showed that those companies which achieved simplicity rather than just manage the complexity were able to perform much better, more sustainably for a longer time than those that just focused on managing the complexity.
As part of the course, you'll be working in syndicate groups with your fellow participants on a range of exercises and case studies, including, for example, Dreamworld on the Gold Coast here in Queensland, British Airways, McDonald's, Smart Car. What was it about these particular companies? Why were they successful in their project execution? And why some of them weren't so successful? There's extensive information, extensive research out there to tell us that the majority of projects fail because of poor leadership, poor communication, and a lack of skills of those people involved with the project.
Communication is vitally important on any project because you have to bring your people together. If you don't communicate about what's happening, people don't know what impact that has on our three main criteria of time, cost or quality. We need to make sure that we budget adequate time within our project to cater for the amount of communication that we're going to do. Is it going to be email? Are we going to have weekly meetings? Are we going to meet around the coffee pot? Are we going to use MSN? If so, everybody needs to have access to these tools, and that everybody knows how to use it, and that we're all allowed to use it within the organisation, and it doesn't breach any security violations. So communication is vitally important to keep on top of what is happening, because as a project manager, you need to know what is going to affect you, and remember those three criteria: time, cost and quality. And the best way of finding out is to go out, get out from behind the computer and talk to people. Vitally important to talk.
It took us several years to write this book. What we discovered after extensive research with commercial executives and academics was that the failure in projects was due frequently to soft skills. And also we found that mistakes were repeated. They were repeated because management failed to assess the successes and failures within a project.
If you're not aware of what's going on in your whole organisation, I don't think you're an effective leader. What is your organisation on about? And are you involved in that? And are you across those issues? And are you thinking strategically enough to enable you to be clear about what your team contributes to that overall agenda?
There are huge number of issues around leadership and management, and I'm particularly keen to explore with people their perceptions around the difference between leaders and managers, the difference between leadership and management. Is there a difference? I explore with people this idea that does leadership exist, and if so, what do they think it is? And what do we know from existing approaches to leadership and leadership theory that help give us insights into the way people operate and make their teams and groups effective?
To properly diagnose, you often have to see what's going on in terms of the interconnectedness with other parts of the system. And there may be things going on in other parts of the system that have an impact on the current focal team.
During the course of the day that I'm with them, I focus in on exploring particular aspects of leadership that I think are critical to creating that kind of environment that generates a team dynamic. So we talk about high-performing teams, some of the key principles for establishing effective teams. We talk about leadership from the point of view of personal authenticity, credibility, emotional intelligence, those things that enable an individual to engage with their people and work collectively in a team environment.
Managing people, managing projects is in essence in two parts. Managing projects covers traditional approaches to projects. What are the milestones, contingencies, how we manage time, quality and cost. We look at resources, we look at stakeholder welfare. How do we identify those stakeholders? How do we identify the needs of those stakeholders and the types of communication that are most applicable to all those people? The second part of the course is very much about managing people, the softer issues, giving people the problem-solving skills, how to undertake decision-making, conflict resolution and negotiation. It's about understanding what our stakeholders want, communication, and once we have all those pieces in place, managing people, managing projects gives us a framework for what should be a very successful project.